All right. Morning, everyone. Today is June 22nd, 2024. This is Small Cap Trading Podcast. As always, the stuff that we discuss in this video is not a financial advice to your own research. And we're going to start today with uh, MBIO and post Black Swan event that happened in the beginning of this past week. We're going to go over that, share about what happened. I think we did post, I think, two videos about this. If you haven't checked those out yet, you can go back and watch about like what we think about the Black Swan days and the post Black Swan. And there was another one, so we are going to talk about it. But Mo, do you want to take over and kick it off?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that introduction. So, our last videos, our last podcast, we missed last week because Molly was traveling. So our last podcast is from 2 weeks ago, and it's perfect because 2 weeks ago we did a podcast about black swans and post black swans, and then sure enough, another one came, and I thought it'd be a good idea to discuss it again because um, first of all, that's just the one of the large dynamics of what happened this week, and second of all, I know that it takes. I personally know that from the moment that I learned how to look at black swans and days after black swans, it still took me way too many repetitions of that event after that before I was able to finally trade it. All that to say is that y'all need to go through this a bunch of times. Um, before. So I don't see the harm, and so but we are gonna go through this quickly, and then go into um, new things that we can talk about. So let's see, entire screen, entire screen. That's the guy. There we go. So, in our conversation about Black Swan last time, we sort of went pretty simple about it, right? It was like, look, when you have something that's like a black swan is something that multiplies itself many times. So it's not 100% or 200% or 300%. It's 500%, 700%, 1,000%, etc. That's what a black swan is. And a black swan is that, but not just that. It's that on high volume that concentrates within it. Typically, it's the one thing being traded that day by most retail participants, both long and short. It's what causes a black swan to be a black swan is that you don't really have a lot of options that day for all the speculators long and short to trade. So we're all piling onto this vehicle, and the overwhelming demand that is caused by all that participation will just cause it to rip and rip and rip. And the lack of other attractive shorts on that day causes the shorts to focus on it, those that don't know better. And it's just a snowball that builds and builds and builds, right? And we specifically on our last video about black swan said that one of the key ingredients of a great black swan, and indeed how they oftentimes happen, is that you don't have other options on that day. All the action is focused on that day. And the next day, all the action spreads around, and you could sort of pick your names. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly 2 weeks later. That's exactly what MBIO brought with it. It's why the volume on it is a billion, which is nuts. And when we spoke about black swans, when you see this, we're like, okay, like from a long perspective, obviously just buy the dips. From a short perspective, just get out the way. And I'll just be redundant again and say, look, what do you mean get out the way? You don't know it's a black swan until after the fact. All right, sure, fair, semi-fair point. But we also looked in our last podcast on, how do you like? Because I took a loss on MBIO short side, but I didn't take a max loss or anything like that. Didn't ruin my day. Wasn't hard for me to make it back the next day and all that stuff. And why we spoke about the signs too, and really quickly the signs are something that like something that makes a really, really large percentage gain in the morning, typically pre-market. And so here we have MBIO, and putting aside the fact that MBIO came out with really, the PR is really great. Like, we cured cancer, right? Those are always great for like many, many, hundreds of percentages. And so a thing went from like 14 cents to like low 40s. So it tripled, right? In pre-market. So that's, right. So it tripled in pre-market. And so we said that there are really sort of like two major signs to watch for. And I was short here, right? I got stopped here, and let's see, why did I get stopped here? Um, so number one is the first sign is that it does substantial gains. The second sign is that it doesn't give up much of those gains. So here it tripled in price, and it went down to like it went down to 30 cents. It gave up some of the move, but not a lot. If you're throwing a Fibonacci on this, we're at the top third. You know what I mean? So it gave up exactly how much of the move it should while still looking bullish. So that's the second sign, and then the third sign is the pre-market highs, which we discussed. That once it takes over pre-market highs, um, if as long as it stays over those highs, you need to, yeah, either buy dips or cover shorts. Um, and it did all those things. It did all those things, and so I did trade it. I'd have to go into my account to see exactly where I traded it. I imagine I'm remembering now. I think I had a small starter here. I think I added here or here, and then I also added here. Then I got stopped out here. Um, I, um, and I know that a bunch of people got some nasty slippage on this. I got slipped too, but I was planning on covering like lower than here, and I got stopped out here. Whatever, it's not important. And so that's really just sort of repeating everything we said in the previous podcast. It's here again, and it's these things are huge, huge, huge events. Basically, when you see something like this, it's a free long, or it's a no-brainer, get out the way short. And I'm not smart enough to long these. It's something I'm working on, but I was smart enough not to take a max loss on it. And so to be able to get long these things, or to be able to like be a short on these things and not have it ruin your week, is a big deal. Any thoughts on this before we move into like sort of the day after Black Swan, which again happened the same way they always do?
Yeah, for me, I was also short. I was short a little bit over VWAP, where similar things that what you were saying about it had a huge gains. I'm thinking like, okay, fluff news, like, yeah, sure, but huge gains. I think it's gonna fade. Once it took me out, I got stopped out on the same candle with you. Once it took me out, I'm like, all right, you guys got me. Let's see like what is gonna bring. And though the line you have there, I kind of had that line in my mind that like, okay, that's where it take out, and then it come and tested that, and then so perfectly, on the right side after that breakout, it comes back. If you pull your mouse there, you see that, um,
What are you
right,
talking about?
go right little bit, where it comes back and tests that pre-market high level later. um, 10
Test the pre-market high level.
11
This is
09 1109 candle. So that's the pre-high. It takes out the high and then it comes back. Yeah, right there.
1109.
Yeah, right there.
All right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it comes back there, I'm like, all right, what's gonna do here? Once it held that perfectly and start moving higher, that's when I started to think like, okay, this doesn't really giving me any like, okay, short again. Where am I shorting again? I didn't get any idea to short again after it did that and claim higher. And we were talking about what Black Swan can do on that MLGO example, that they don't really give up huge gains, and once they reclaim, they don't really like pull that much to give you like that many entries. If you really pay attention, he just kind of there. That's why I guess we talked that they are really good longs. It held and then it just goes. So I guess it was good that we avoided. But that's what caught my eye to, as a side note when
Avoided.
it's yeah to avoid it. Like
Right.
this is good long, I guess.
Oh, without a doubt, it's a great long. Um, and yeah, right. And like, look, if you sort of like this looks slightly different depending on how you draw your lines. You know that I don't draw my lines at I rarely draw my lines at the absolute tippy top of
Yeah,
wicks. I normally look for where the real, because there's always going to be slippage over levels. And so I like to look at sort of where, there are more multiple touch points where the real
yeah,
action was. And so for me, the line would have been here.
yeah,
But I appreciate the sort of the trappiness here, which is if you really do look at it, you can sort of see if you really were insisting on looking at the absolute high, and then this would have been trappy behavior. This would have been, you would have looked, this
yeah,
would be like, it broke below, let's go. And that's like, man, it took you to
yeah,
the cleaners. Now as we're looking at this, I gotta be honest, I'm remembering now that, so I got stopped out here, and I think I did get fooled by this, because I think I might have shorted here. But I was like, I was I was like so careful. I was like, I put like just like a little starter here, really a little starter. And I was like, if we start to like downtrend, then I'll get short. And if we don't, then we don't. So then I ate the starter over here. Now I'm remembering. So I wish I would have been long. This is a great long. I'm working on it, but still, as far as shorts goes, I mean, I didn't have a max loss on it. And as you know, as I took the loss on it, me, you, the guys, we went into the poker room, played some poker without any positions on, and watched this thing double from there. And what we did is we talked about tomorrow, the next day, and what we're going to do the next day.
yeah,
And so I think this is as good a time as any to sort of flip to that. And what we were hoping that this will do is, bring sort of your classic day after Black Swan, which you again go to the MLGO video from 2 weeks ago, our last video, and you'll see that discussion. But the same thing played out. Like some people would say, I spoke to this dude on Twitter, Keelan. He's like, nah, it's not really the perfect Black Swan. Like the day of, like we're both hoping that the next day will bring with it action. And he was being doubtful because black swans, there's not that many black swans from like 14 cents. We're more used to them coming, bless you, we're more used
thank
to them going from $3 to $20, or from $1 to $15, or from $5 to $50. You don't see them as often from 14 cents to a buck. It's just not the type of, and for whatever reason, it gave him and myself, to be honest, doubt that. But all we could do is hope that the next day the sort of black swan day after black swan dynamics goes into effect, and it did. It did. Where it was unique is that I thought that we'd get a lot of like, exactly the same sympathies, which is to say trash, biotech that comes from sub 20 cents, because the sympathies, the themes do tend to be really on the nose sometimes, like really really on the nose. And you know what I mean? Like for example, in a cycle where like it's all 5 cent movers, then when a 50 or 70 cent thing comes along, it's actually not in the theme, right? If you remember, that was the case, after the FFIE, during the FFIE saga. So sympathies, like that sort of a thing, they tend to be really on the nose. And so the next day, I really was expecting, very, very obvious um, sympathies. And, we got a couple of them. So, for example, NLSP, it did come from, yeah, pretty much there. Like, the 13, 14 cents, which is on the nose, like MBIO. And, um,
you. I bought this after our first time, thinking, seeing all those sympathies, shooting out myself for longing something and making money on the long side.
right, yeah. You longed it. I think you like longed it like here and sold it here or something, right?
Yeah, I bought it at 17 cents and sold wherever that high was.
Yeah. Um, and then we got Snow, which again came from this one came from 17 cents. Um, So this one came from 17 cents. And so we got a couple of those, but what we actually got was like a diversity of runners. So you had a couple that were right on the nose, but then you had a few that were, sort of unrelated, but they were, once the retail traders come and they get excited about um, whatever the theme is, sometimes it bleeds outside. So that's how we got SNS. Is that the move? Yeah, this is it. It's this day right here. No, sorry, this day right here. Yeah, Tuesday. And so on the daily, it just looks like it went to 250, but on the pre-market, you see it actually went mid threes. Um, and so we got a bunch of different action, not just, we actually didn't get a lot that was right on the nose. We just got like maybe three of them. Oh shit, Rally. I'm crazy. How I'm forgetting Rally.
Really, yes, in a way.
So Rally, again, the same thing came from, 22 cents. Um, and so you got tons and tons and tons and tons of action. And so at that point, like, the whole idea is that in order for something to really go to the moon, the perfect storm needs to happen. The perfect storm is that all of the volume is concentrated in this, both longs and shorts are losing, but they're staying stubborn. It's hard to get like a moonshot without the perfect storm. I argue it's nearly impossible to get a moonshot without the perfect storm. And on a day where the action is being spread around on NLSP, SNOA, rarely, MBIO was still gapping up. It was very much in play. ASNS had silly news, and so on the day where so much action is happening, it's really hard for one thing to moon, and so it's really caps your I mean, that's the day right there. If nothing's going to go to the moon, then and you have a bunch of runners that are posting major percentage gains just off of the excitement. That's really it. And so, you know what I mean? Like they're obvious shorts. And so at that point, you just have to search for your whatever you're comfortable with. And I really enjoyed the action in the room on that day because we all, we had, besides us talking about, Day After Black Swan on the podcast, we had, our like, little joint phone call on Discord after MLGO. And we really talked about just all of us talking about it, about how you show up to a Day After Black Swan. And like I said, 2 weeks later, here we are again. And I enjoyed the action in the room because I think everyone pretty much traded it. Some did better, some did worse, but everyone capitalized off of it. And I really enjoyed how I was like, I rarely is not for me. I since like right here in the pre market, I was like, rarely is not for me. There's enough runners out there, but other guys were like, no, 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 rarely is a big op. And you know what? They were right. I was wrong. But all of us made money because there was like the choice not to trade something doesn't cost you money. As long as there's other things out there that you're nailing, great, more power to you. And so I really enjoyed how I was like, no, no, not for me, not for me, not for me. But all you guys were undeterred by that. You were like, cool, we're short. Um, and
Yeah,
so and
that's
so,
true.
yeah.
Um, yeah, after Black Swan, we did talk about. I want to give a shout out to the guys there too, Brian and Riley. We did have a phone call. They came, they aped it. They traded really well this day on post Black Swan on everything. We had a really good call. Things were really just in line, making sense. We know what to look for. Like I guess when you see that just 2 weeks ago, if it was like we had the phone call and the next Black Swan came like 2 months later, I don't know how much the memory will be fresh, what you know what you're looking for, but it was just like last week or 2 weeks ago. Like we just talked and we talked to the MBIO day, what we look for tomorrow. That's like when you come on a day with the A plus mind, everything
right?
fresh, like that you know when you're looking for. But
And that's why I wanted to do this video again for that same reason. This so
yeah,
that so that if somebody is watching this, it, they there's two videos in a row for the same thing, and hopefully it sticks because these are big money days. I mean, like honestly, you could just trade these days and not trade any other day in the year. You could work because these come if these come 5-8 times a year, you could just work 5-8 days a year, quite honestly, and just go balls to the wall and be off the rest of the 360 days, and you'd have a good year if you realize the magnitude of the opportunity, which I don't trade them on that size because like I try to stick around. Like like that's the level of risk I just don't feel comfortable putting on yet. But I know people that do. I mean, I know people that like double their account short, and that should really give you pause because how do you double your account short? Like the maximum you can make is 100%, and nothing fades 100%, right? So what they do is they just go full margin. They like max out their buying power, and they end up, making like 30% gains, but on 4x margin, and they double their account. So
hmm,
you can do that shit, but like I don't because it's not for me. But I do go bigger, and I do go more reckless, if to use that word. Like you see my executions on, like let's take this as an example, right? Like so actually, like let me pull up the execution on it, so that we see sort of what my mindset is. Because like going into today, for example, going into this day, I remember me and you were talking pre-market about how we're going to play this. And you were trying to absolutely nail entries, and um, I was like, look, I don't know that I'm going to be able to nail anything, but I'm going to try. And I think that a bunch of stuff is just going to run and then fade because the action is so spread out. So I'm just going to try and pepper my shorts on whichever runners I feel comfortable shorting. And I'm going to like sort of separate my bullets a good amount, so that because I know they're going to mess around on this day, and I don't think I'm going to be able to necessarily nail a single entry or a single backside or anything like that. So pre-market, that's what I was telling you, that my plan was, and I'm going to show it right here, so that we can see, right? So it's from the Discord. I don't have the rest of the covers later on, but the point is that I was like, cool. Like, I play front side. I play what I thought was the turn into backside. I'll play backside too. Shit, not backside. All right, I'll trade the turn again. It's basically the double top, right? And then, the rest we know. And so it more goes to show like it may look reckless, but I'm not going full margin. I'm just spreading out the risk and trading the day. And I did that over how many names? I traded that one, and I traded Snowa, and I traded NLSP the same way I traded NLSP. And I took it from pre-market to nearly end of day, right? I had some covers here. I can like the this if you saw the execution chart for this one, it's really crazy. I was pretty much short everywhere, full conviction. Um, and so were all the other names. I was like, I'm not gonna. Me and you are basically, I think we represent the two ways in which you could trade a day like this, two different ways in which you could trade a day like this. You were looking to snipe your entries and just really choose, I don't know, two names, three names. I was like, every single name that's not in the void for me, I am short that name today. And I don't know, I'm not going to pretend like I know where the top or the back side is. I'm just going to look for where the high volume, high volatility bars are. pepper some shorts there. If that happens to be the top, I'll lean on pops afterwards, and you know, and, if not, then great. And with snow, that approach ended up being good because I was peppering my shorts here and it never really came up. So that ended up being great. And I think that's a trade you missed because you were looking to snipe. And with LRHC, and it ended up being sort of harder because it hit him here, but it came back. But I was still not like, you need a perfect storm for a black swan for the moon. You need a perfect storm. I can't remember a day where the black swan happened again 2 days in a row. You know what I mean? So that it's my your behavior is safer and smarter. Your approach is safer and smarter than mine. Because if I get caught, I have to take a pretty painful loss. But I've been doing this for I've been trading this type of dynamic since 2016. So for 8 years, I haven't been trading for 8 years. I've been trading for longer, but I've been trading this type of dynamics for 8 years. And so, my profits are way, way built into if someday something like that happens, and my conviction from the fact that in all those years it really hasn't happened. You know what I mean? So my approach is that, but doesn't matter. My approach, your approach doesn't matter as long as you understand the day and take advantage of it. Right.
Yeah. I agree on a part that I probably will make less entries on this day. To be honest, this was the fourth or fifth one, and I remember after Holo, like when we were really talking about post Black Swan days, I came the day everything is short. I was so aggressive. I want to put my shorts, and then man, by 9:30, I was drawing down huge because I'm not as experienced as you. Like, oh, Mo said everything short. I'm gonna short that. I'm gonna short that. I didn't appreciate. Okay, everything can be short, but still, you need to have some sort of entry that you think is like preventable to those taking huge losses. So the big trades came, they hit my eye, but by the time they came, I already lost so much money thinking everything is short. I'm like, okay, I survived that day. I made little. And the next Black Swan came, right? Everything is short today. And same thing happened. I'm trying
You're
to pull,
pre-exhausted.
I pull my bullets pre-market 6 a.m., 7 a.m. By 9:30, I'm drawing down here. So I'm like, all right, I'm making money, but I'm also losing so much money thinking I'm trying to spread out. The previous Black Swan, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna really, really hit the ones because I know I'm gonna get entries. Today is so much volume. We talk about it that um, I will get my short if I really wait for them. So that day was great. I had three shorts. They all worked. No drawdown. I'm like, all right, I found my way. So this type came. This post Black Swan day was way weaker than the previous one though. I realized that like thing really died. Um, like SNOI, ASNS, I think
ASNS.
there were other ones, which is fine. That's like the risk I took, I guess, because the stuff that you do look like you're just spreading, but the level you are doing is I seen enough that you don't get caught. If it does, there is a very small nuance. If it does something different, you know when to get out. I'm not there yet, and I know that if I just put spread, I might just tell myself, "Come on, everything is a short today. Like, where is it gonna go?" And then, oh, you just make stuff out.
Right. Yeah.
So that was my approach. But I think your approach probably does make more, of course, on a day like today.
There is no better or worse, and there isn't just these two approaches. There's more than just these two. Um, so what's important though is just, in my opinion, is just to understand the dynamics of the day and understand that black swans happen when there's concentration, and that great moves can still happen without concentration, but not black swans per se. Most of the time, never say never, but in the 8 years that I've been paying attention, I haven't seen it. And so all that to say is that just because something went from 100% to 250% on a day after black doesn't mean it can't go from 250 to 350, in which case you're like shorting at 250 and freaking out at 350. but it's not going to 500 or 1,000. Most likely, so far the history has shown me, and so that's and so that's really the takeaway. And you know, trade it however you want to trade it. And so that's just, I think I don't want to talk too much about this because again, we do have a whole entire video just about this. It's just 2 weeks later, here we are again. I thought everything that we've said in that last video was, was spot on for this event, and it was so beautiful to watch, Brian and Riley, get it after that phone call that we had after the
Yeah.
previous Black Swan, and so I just thought it's good for everybody to just, you know, it's good to beat this dead horse one more time. I think other than that, anything else you want to talk about?
No, like you said, there are different approaches, but if somebody watching this video never traded Black Swan, I think that will be my advice from if you are at like couple years in, like 3, 4 years in, whatever, you do need to find still entry. Like it's really hard to just short blindly if you're not experienced, if you haven't seen 10 years. Um,
Right.
that is my tip. But I am working on mentally. Like I tell you sometimes, I am mentally short. I am mentally short to see to that feeling. Riley pointed out, he's like, Molly, if you're mentally short, why don't you share just short one share so you can track your mental short? So I started doing those.
Nice.
But yeah, okay, yeah, we can
Not a
move on
bad,
from
not a bad idea.
this
All right, all right.
shorts. Is there any? Actually, can you go to SNOA? I was
Yep.
gonna ask something.
Hit me. What's up?
So on a day like today, when everything is running, um,
On a day, you mean on a day like the day after Black Swan?
yeah, I'm expecting things to like show their hands, run, and then I'm gonna short them. So like, I guess your approach is just spreading out to short. What do you see here? Like when you start your short, I thought this didn't even start. This like I thought this didn't even like did his thing yet.
My man, if you're gonna be a small cap short seller, you're gonna know Snowa, and you're gonna know
Oh, the ticker itself.
100 other names. Yeah, and you're gonna be like, okay, whatever Snowa does today is coming back. It's coming back. To, like, I mean, it's flushing all the way back. Is what I'm trying to say. And so it's like when you see, so the issue is that you're right. I didn't have a big trade on it because it never really presented something large. But um, I was here and I was here and I was here and I was here, and I was like, come on, let's make life hard for me. Let this run. um in which case I'd have to like check my size, ask myself if I have to size down or not. Am I gonna, fight this like I fought LRHC or like HRC, whatever the fucking ticker was? Like, you saw that I was short. I was short highs, I was short lows. Didn't matter to me. I was short everything. And I'd have to make those decisions. But it didn't ask me to make those decisions because it just died, and so that was basically free money for me while I was, fighting the other names like NLSP, which I was fighting. I was shorting it everywhere, and it gave me a little bit of a hard time. Which, and same with the LRHC one. You know what I mean? And so it just your approach, there's not much to talk about here other than just my approach versus your approach. Where
So
my approach
also the
is, yeah, go
ticker.
ahead.
I didn't know the SNOI was at that type of ticker too. Just knowing that it will fade and
Oh, bro, like, come on, take a look at it. Like what is this? This is a reverse. Not only is this a reverse splitter to death, but like, if you take a look at any time in its history, you see fade, pop, fade. Like, it's what they do. You know what I mean? Pops, fade, pops, fade, pops, fade. And the more this is from a zoom out perspective too. Like, the more you zoom in, pop, fade, pop, fade, pop, fade, pop, fade. Come on now,
yeah.
non fucking stop. It's just it's a dumbass ping pong vehicle. And I sent you dilution trackers last year's dilution champions. Uh, I'm sure here right now. I wonder if Snow is on that, but let me pull that up.
Dilution champions.
Yeah, man. Just cause cause me and you we talk sometimes about names that are just they're gonna hit the bid always and that sort of things, and I don't think that it registers because okay, you remember one of your biggest trades ever, right?
Yeah,
ALLR.
yeah,
And you remember Brian was like, oh, I think it's might squeeze. I'm like, my man, ALLR hits every fucking bid whenever it's up. And you can see, what an absolutely astronomical dilution, they've caused. So when we talk about these names, dude, and you look at somebody that aggregates the data like this is no joke, dude. Like, so, I wonder if Snow is somewhere on this chart, but like, it doesn't matter. Every single name here, I know. And wherever Snow is on the chart, I know Snow. I know, I know them. So that's just what that was about. You know what I mean? It's like once they're on the I hit every fucking bid list in my mind, it is what it is.
yeah. Got it. Well, that makes
So
sense if you know
yeah,
the name.
yeah,
That go aggressive.
yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Is there anything else you think on this topic we talk about?
Not really, but I'm getting a smile. I don't want to name the name specifically because there's a name that me and you short pretty much blindly every
Oh, I
time that
see.
it comes
I
up.
see. Yeah, I saw it.
I don't want to name it because I don't want to fuck up our golden goose. But I mean, you see, you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So just some names just hit every bid, bro.
All right, guys. If you watched it, thank you so much. This was this week's episode. Take care, everyone. Trade safe.